REI Co-op presents a perfect outdoor moment with the perfect gift. Picture this. You're ripping with your favorite person. Bluebird skies, blower powder, and frankly, you're skiing like legends.
So sick. Another lap?
Thanks to REI's curation, from lid to sticks, you nailed the gift.
No way. How'd you know?
Does it get more perfect than that? Give without guessing. Shop in store or visit rei.com.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the five of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault. A new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. So today I am going to talk about a specific comment that I got that men don't like foreplay. I got that from a man on Facebook, and I wanted to go into depth about why that is not correct for many men. And before that, I will tell you to subscribe. I have many subscriber episodes. They are awesome. They include a lot of ones about sex and a lot of ones about other things. And most recently, there were some about parenting and the meaning of life and midlife. And honestly, sometimes guys only subscribe so that they could listen to the sex ones. But if you want to have better conversations with your wife, you should subscribe for the other ones. The subscription ones are usually what I consider the deeper ones, the ones that go more into depth on philosophical topics. And those are for my core listeners that are probably interested in more of those topics. So definitely subscribe if you want those episodes too. Okay, so this guy told me, I had a little video about how one of the greatest mistakes people make, not greatest, the largest, biggest mistakes that people make in their 40s is not enough foreplay, because this really detracts from the experience. Then people end up having worse sex. They don't get aroused as quick anymore. So then they end up having bad sex if they limit the foreplay. And then, of course, they don't want sex anymore if it's bad sex, etc. And it can be painful and difficult, to get in the mood as quickly. Your body just does not warm up the same way. And so if you limit the foreplay, then you're really limiting your sexual potential. And I've discussed this a million times. I have a lot of podcasts on the importance of foreplay, and I linked to a couple of them, right from this episode. And he said, no, it's not people who need more foreplay. It's women who need more foreplay. No. Listen, everybody is different, right? And there is a lot of different styles sexually, erotic blueprints, aim to help people understand more of their sexual style. And I have a podcast I linked to on the erotic blueprints. And I didn't come up with that. And so if you have a sensual erotic blueprint, you like the buildup, you like all of the touching, you like the foreplay. That's like the best part, is the buildup, the edging, that sort of thing. And sometimes when I say edging, then it's like men think, oh my God, wait, I do like foreplay. I just never had any foreplay. But when I masturbate, then I engage in edging, which means getting yourself close to orgasm and then retreating. And so that your eventual orgasm, when you do have it, is a lot stronger. And men do that when they're masturbating, but they just don't put that in the same bucket as foreplay. But it is. That's foreplay, And it's interesting because when you think about it from that perspective about, do you have a stronger orgasm after buildup? Most people will say, yeah, of course, but they just don't associate foreplay. They don't exactly know what foreplay is. That's why I have a podcast literally called Do You Know What Foreplay Is? Because a lot of people don't. You should listen to that one. And so if you have a sensual erotic blueprint, you specifically like the foreplay. Also the kinky erotic blueprint, basically anything except sexual. Sexual is literally, but you know what? I'm not going to say that because that's not exactly true. It's just a different kind of foreplay. So a sexual erotic blueprint is when you're just turned on by naked bodies and genitals. So stuff where A sensual person might like, for example, to start having sex with your clothes on, with lingerie on, and take your time before even getting to the naked body. And would like the lights turned down, and all of these things that I say that highly sensitive women particularly like, many of whom have sensual erotic fluid. And if they're partnered with a guy who's sexual, then the woman feels like he's always trying to get to the main event. He's always trying to get to the main event, and they want more foreplay. Yeah, for sure that happens. And you know what? I also see it the other way, where a man has a sensual erotic blueprint and he's partnered with a sexual woman who just wants wham, bam, thank you, man, and she just wants the intercourse. And she does not like a lot of buildup necessarily, although it's interesting because even people with sexual erotic blueprints frequently do like foreplay of a sort, but it's not necessarily what the other person thinks of as foreplay. So for more sensitive women, I always say, don't think about oral sex as foreplay because you're touching her genitals. So she's going to get, overstimulated if she's not aroused by the time you touch her genitals. And a lot of guys think that oral sex is foreplay. That's the only kind of foreplay they know. And so basically what they think of as foreplay is they get into bed, they go down on the woman, and then they have intercourse. And the foreplay part was the going down on her. Now, she may think that foreplay is kissing and touching so that she could get aroused before he touches her genitals. And she may not really like the oral sex. And again, I mean, if you get the extra episodes, I have a whole one on oral sex on women and why a lot of women don't like it and the differences between what men think about oral sex on women and what many women think, etc. So definitely subscribe and get that one. Could always search for any title in the Spotify search bar on the top. If you have the Spotify app in the Dr. Psych Mom show, search for any term, right? Once you subscribe, you search oral sex. Anyway, so if that's all that foreplay is, then the man says, sometimes, you know what, especially if he's more avoidant or he has more of a sexual blueprint, sometimes he says, you know what, I don't like it. It's stupid. Like all that foreplay is I go down on her. She doesn't go down on me. And then we have intercourse. So I could skip it, go right for the intercourse. Most guys like going down on women, but anything gets boring. And especially if you feel it's not reciprocated, a lot of guys start to get annoyed. And since she thinks, because remember, most people don't have a lot of sexual experience, so and women have less than men on average. And so point is that she thinks that's the only thing that foreplay is. She's like, all right, this is better than just starting because just starting sex hurts. So him going down on me first hurts less. Power through the original discomfort when I'm not aroused yet, and then I can get in the zone, But in reality, there's not kissing, there's not touching, there's not stroking and caressing, massage, and there's usually nothing for the guy. So if there was foreplay aimed at the guy, then he might like foreplay. Many men do, because it would be more like the masturbation sessions when he's edging himself. So when people are engaging in long makeout sessions when they're young, when you're first in your high school relationship, college relationships, before you have intercourse, there's a lot of long, extended makeout sessions that is very arousing to both people, particularly those with sensual erotic blueprints. And there is more touching, and there's, she is touching his penis. Now, frequently after intercourse starts for a couple, like after the couple starts having intercourse, which the older you get, the quicker you get to that point. Right away, on your first sexual encounter, you're having intercourse. So then many people never manually touch each other's genitals again. And the guy doesn't really touch her breasts or any other erotic zone. She doesn't touch anything else on him. And they just pretty much start either the formula of he goes down on her and then they have sex, or she goes down on him to, quote, get him ready. So the getting him ready thing is like for a couple of minutes. The getting her ready thing may be for a couple of minutes, but that's not all that foreplay is. And if that's all that foreplay has been for you and your dyad and your couple, then yeah, maybe you don't like it because it's really rote and it's all genital focused, and there's a whole body attached to your genitals, and that is very erotic for many people when they start touching something that is not just your genitals. And I have multiple podcasts on this. Like I have something with Susanna, on tantric sex that just came out, or will have come out by a month ago by the time you hear this. And I had something with Heather, my sexologist, and you can book with either of those people. They could talk to you about foreplay, and they want to talk to you about foreplay individually or as a couple and help you, because a lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing. And so then their sex life is crap. And then they think that they don't like foreplay when they could. Now, some people don't. Some people just literally want to get right to the main event. Usually goes more with avoidant attachment, because the longer the sexual interlude is, the more, God forbid, you could have some intimacy emotionally. You're at risk. You're at risk for some vulnerability or some emotional closeness, God forbid. And so if you get it done quick, then you can get out of Dodge fast before there's any sort of emotional connection, right? And I'm joking, but it's true. It's really true. Like, the more avoidant you are, I've seen this for years and years in practice, the more avoidant the person, the quicker they like sex to go. And if they don't want it to be quick, then they want some kind of like elaborate kink thing that also is not the actual people connecting. Now, kink is fine. You want to do some elaborate BDSM role play, cool. But that is kind of not as connecting if you are not also like that. So if it's two kinky people that are like super into it, fine. But if the only way that people, like that a woman will get her avoidant husband to stay interested in a longer sexual interlude is if she's wearing some crazy outfit, or they're, talking about threesomes hypothetically, or like engaging in like a lot of dirty talk or something hyper stimulating that's like kind of like a porn scene. And that could be fine unless that's the only way that he will do more than just intercourse. And that is sometimes what happens with an avoidant partner. And with an avoidant woman, those are the guys who say, I wish that we were spending more time in bed, making out, caressing, building up, edging. But what she wants is basically the very quickest, orgasm-focused, encounter, kind of almost, the guy says, like, I'm a dildo, or like I'm a vibrator or something. And if that sounds hot until like that's your whole sex life. But then if you're not wired for that, if you want more of a connecting, erotic, sensual experience, then yes, men also have feelings, and men can also have different erotic blueprints. And if you're a man with a sensual blueprint, then you are the one who's yearning for more foreplay, more connection, and more emotional intimacy during the act. And you don't necessarily like just being a dildo. Just like a woman wouldn't like a man using her as what she perceives as, quote, just an orifice, right? People don't really feel connected when they feel like a tool for the partner's orgasm. That, again, can sound hot, and it can be hot sometimes, and it can be nice to do an active service to help your partner relax or go to sleep or whatever. Plenty of people do that and give their partner an orgasm unidirectionally. But if that's what it kind of always feels like, is that it's unidirectional, even if you're both having an orgasm, it can feel unidirectional. Because you could yearn for more of a close bonded experience, more foreplay, more buildup, more emotional closeness, more talking, whatever. And if the other person will only have this quick intercourse focused experience, then even if you have learned to adapt your orgasm so that you can also have an orgasm when they do, it still doesn't feel mutual. It feels unidirectional. So men are people too. Men like foreplay too. Not all men, hashtag not all men like foreplay, I guess. And, but hashtag a lot of them do. And not all women like foreplay, but a lot of them do. And physiologically, as we get older, people need more foreplay. That's when guys don't come into the encounter already hard, right? They also have responsive arousal at that point, and plenty of them have responsive desire too. They just don't want to say it, but they do. And they're not really thinking about sex all the time as they get older the way that they were when they were young. And with some touching and kissing, then they start to think about it and want it a lot, same as women. So men and women are not that different in that regard. As anybody gets older, they need more touch and more stimulation in order to get aroused. They don't walk around horny all day. It would be nice to stay young forever, although not really. It's kind of Black Mirror episode. in the making, but both people, in the encounter tend to need more stimulation as they get older. And that just is what it is. That's how bodies work. And if you don't engage in that, then the guy's not fully hard without, taking a pill or something. The woman is not fully lubricated. And by the way, as you get older, even with foreplay, the woman will need lubrication. When she's younger, foreplay makes her wet, right? So she doesn't need the lubrication, usually, like external lube. But as she gets older, she doesn't get as wet, even when she's aroused. And so lube is necessary then. And lube is necessary when touching a man's genitals too, by the way, for the best experience if he doesn't pre-lubricate the same way. And that happens for men too. Same man who used to have a lot of pre-cum when he's young doesn't as he gets older frequently. Bodies change, and we need to adapt if we still want to have any sort of intimate life as things change. And that just is what it is, and I talk about that all the time. Anyway, I hope this was instructive, and I hope it was interesting from the perspective of men and women with any sort of style. You should listen again to the Erotic Blueprint one and the one about foreplay, and I will talk to y'all soon. Have a great day, guys. And if you want to book individually or as a couple with our sexologist or with Susanna Matthews, who is one of our coaches, and she works a lot with couples with intimacy issues, then always reach out to info@Best Life Behavioral Health, and you could work with any of our therapists or coaches. And I'll talk to you soon, y'all. Have a great day.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Bye-bye.